In this episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks, we're going to be conjuring pixels with a couple of powerful Intel alchemists. Next. Welcome back, my brothers and sisters, to yet another fine episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks live stream. A very special live stream today with a couple of folks from a little company by the name of Intel. We'll get to these guys shortly, but we need to check in with Marco. How are you feeling today, Marco? Are you feeling empowered and magical and wizard-like?
I'm feeling fantastic. We have the remnants of Hurricane Ida passing over, so hopefully things stay quiet and stable over here. But yeah, all good in my end.
Excellent. We've got Chris behind the knobs and dials, and we're gonna be spitting out lots of mouthfuls there. Pod D Sweezy, good to see you again there, buddy, in the chat. That guy's a regular now. Good to have you with us. But yeah, we're going to be covering lots of exciting stuff today, and we have with us a couple of special guests from Intel. Why don't we put them up on screen, Chris, and let them join the Brady Bunch? Yes, we have Martyn Stroeve, Senior Director, Graphics Product Marketing, and Scott Wasson, Senior Manager, Graphics Tech Analysis from the Intel ARC team. Gentlemen, how you guys doing? Good to see you.
Doing well, thanks. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we have a lively discussion queued up for today. We're going to pepper you with lots of questions. We'll aim not to get you in trouble. We could, but sorry about that if we do. And we've got lots of good things in store that we want to pepper you guys with for questions, dig in a little bit deep on your tech. But why don't we start a little bit on you first? And Scott's been on before. He's kind of a regular. So let's start with Martyn. Martyn, you're Senior Director, Graphics Product Marketing at Intel. What's your bailiwick? What's your name, rank, and serial number within the company? What are you responsible for there? Give us a little insight into your purview, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I'm Scott's tag-along, clearly, right? He's the celebrity here. I've been at Intel for over 16 years, various roles, most of that time in competitive marketing, tech marketing, and the last, I guess it's nearly 10 months now, been focused on building out our graphics product marketing capability. And so that's been a really fun and interesting journey. And, Scott, obviously, one of the key members of the team as we've been putting this team together, and with the exciting times ahead, right? Intel Arc Graphics is just around the corner, and like I said, Intel veteran. So I think Scott's got a lot of great experience outside Intel, and I think it's been a good partnership having him on board and helping him navigate the company.
So you guys have put together a dare I say star-studded team from all over the place, both internal and external. Are you still in staffing mode building this team? I mean, because it seems like there's been a lot of player movement to your group specifically, and you've been plucking the roses, so to speak, if we refer to Scott as a rose, I guess, along the way.
I mean, I think it's the nature of the industry, right? I think that it's a rotating door on all sides. I think we've definitely been staffing up and picking up people as we get ready to bring this great product family to market. So, yeah, I mean, I think we've definitely brought on some really strong players. I think we're still looking. So if there's folks tuned in that want to come and join the Intel crew, yeah, definitely. We're still across my team and the brothers and sister teams that we have here. It's a growing family, and we've got a lot of work to do. So
nice.
We're not stopping yet.
Good products start with good people. That's great. Good stuff. And yeah, let's speaking of a good person, let's move on to Scott.
Exactly.
Scott, Senior Manager, Graphics Tech Analysis. That is an interesting title. What are you doing there at Intel? And maybe give us a little bit of history where you came from, because you were on the other side of the fence not long ago, right?
Yeah. So, I spent, 15 plus years as tech press at the Tech Report and working with you guys, covering a lot of the same stuff, and, enjoyed that for a long time. And about 5 years ago, I moved into the industry, into the dark side, and I was at AMD for a while in the Radeon Technologies group, and then joined Intel last December. So haven't even been here a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Freshly minted at Intel. And what's your role and responsibility within the team with Martyn?
Yeah, so the title's tech analysis, and it's kind of a bit of everything, but a lot of it is looking at the competition, looking at our products that we're building, and trying to sort of help us understand what we need to build and what we're up against. And then some of it is in a related fashion, performance testing and making sure that we're doing the right things there.
Gotcha. Well, Tuan has a little bit of wisdom there for you. He expected more keyboards hanging around you, Scott. I guess you're also a keyboard aficionado, so we've been told.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by them, but you can't see them in the shot. So,
mechanical keyboard types, custom mechanical keyboards. In fact, I think, right?
I've got a ton. Yeah, I can show them to you later if you want to see.
Well, we'll talk about some Intel Arc first, and maybe circle back to the keyboards a little bit later in the cast. We got a bunch of things queued up on our side for questions. There are some questions streaming in the chat. Folks, certainly get your questions in. We'll try to get to as many of the good ones as possible. And I say the good ones because there's obviously going to be some stuff that these guys aren't going to be able to disclose for you today. Stuff that's still proprietary pre-launch here as we ramp up to Intel Arc's launch in early 2022. That has been, that stake has been put in the sand. We know that much, but there's only so much that can be disclosed. So we're not going to break any NDAs or lose any jobs over this live stream, right, guys? All right. So let's
Not.
there you go. Let's dig in a little bit. Marco, I don't know if you want to start. I know we've got a couple of our own to kick into. Maybe I'll start with sort of a high level question and let you guys field this from your personal perspectives, but also perhaps what the company mission and goal is here. But assuming all goes to plan, can you explain what Intel's ultimate long-term goals are with respect to the discrete GPU space, and especially as it relates to PC gaming? Is it world domination here? What's the overall goal? Kind of a softball question, but would like to hear sort of the team spirit response on this. I don't know if anybody wants to jump in on it.
I'm going to let Martyn take that.
I'll start. Yeah, and you broke up a bit for me there, Dave, but I think I got the gist of the question. I think we're humble, right? I think we understand that we're the new entrant into this market, into a market that has two established incumbents. Obviously, we've got a lot of heritage with integrated graphics, and we've made a lot of strong inroads over there in the last couple of years. But yeah, I think our goals are to grow in this market. I think our goals are to deliver to our customers and to gamers. I think our goals are to be differentiated, and I think that we set some of that up when we talked about the brand the other week. But I think we've got strong ambitions and strong goals. But definitely we want to bring value, right? I think just coming into the market and saying we're another player is not our goal, and that's not our mission, and that's not our vision. But we'll start to unpack what we really want to do and what we're really going to bring to the table as we get into this over the next weeks and months as we build up to our first products. And then as we disclosed a couple of weeks back, we've got multiple generations of products. It's not just hardware. Software is obviously critical, if not king here, and then services as well. So I think we're bringing hardware, software, and services together to make sure everyone's got a great gaming experience. And I think that's the nuts and bolts of it.
Sure. Interesting comment from Ben Sun. Intel's been in graphics longer than AMD and NVIDIA, and that's an interesting observation, Ben. Indeed, they have had integrated graphics and lots of different graphics products for a long time. But in the GPU space, or the discrete GPU space, and Martyn, you mentioned something that's it's an interesting thought. You don't just want to be another GPU, another offering. You want to be more than that. You want to build a brand here, and we get that for sure. But really, for a rare time in Intel's history, you guys are the new sort of underdog coming in here, and folks, I would say you're going to enjoy probably a little bit of that underdog motivation for providing a third alternative in the market. And I think folks are most folks are probably really looking forward to having another serious player in discrete GPUs. So good
Yeah,
stuff.
and I think, you know, to date, until recently, Dave, I think, you know, we haven't looked at the GPU as a first-class citizen within the company. I think that's CPU has always been the king for us, and graphics has always been something we had to do. And I think that we turned a big corner, obviously, when we brought Raja on board, and we started to really take it seriously. And I think that's that mentality shift and the elevation of a GPU as an equal player within the company. And obviously now we've formed a business unit dedicated to graphics. So I think we've had a big mentality / religion change within the company on GPUs. And I think so, yeah, we've been in GPUs a long time. Yeah, we've got, you know, pretty big market share based on our one-to-one attach rate with CPUs with integrated graphics. But it's really these last few years that we've looked at GPUs differently and really focused on, you know, what can we do to build a high performance graphics roadmap and obviously capability. So I think it's very different now than it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Scott, anything to pile in there before we move on to the next one?
No, I think you covered that.
It's funny, we have some other celebrities in the audience. Intel Software's here. Software is truly king. They may be biased on that one, but hey, you got to have the software to run the hardware for sure. Marco, why don't we dig into a couple? Why don't we dig into a couple of the other questions here, and then we can see if we've got one or two early ones that make sense to dive into from the chat as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to ask about the codename GPUs that Martyn announced during Arc Day. But before I do, there was an awesome comment. You guys might want to get a pen out and write this one down. We have someone from Twitch saying, how about a water-cooled Arc named Noah and an air-cooled high-performance card with a huge heatsink named Joan? That's some good ideas right there.
Nice. Nice.
So Martyn, during Arc Day, actually, I think it was in the materials released after Arc Day on the Intel Arc landing site, you mentioned a couple of additional GPUs. So we know this first wave of GPUs coming. The first one is Alchemist. That's the code name for the first wave of GPUs coming. But you mentioned Battlemage, Celestial, and Druid. You know, what can you tell us about those upcoming launches? Are those simply additional products that are going to build off Alchemist? Are those future gen GPUs? Is there any additional color you can give about those?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not going to discuss any details, but I think to clarify what they represent, those are generational product families. So Alchemist is what we're going to be releasing to the market in Q1. That was formerly called DG2. And then you could think of what would have been DG3, DG4, etc. That's going to be your Battlemage, your Celestial, your Druid. So those will be, you know, each of those families will come later. And they're following alphabetical order. So just like, you know, Alchemist, Battlemage is B, Celestial is C. So that's the thinking there. And, you know, we touched on it a little bit, but, you know, one DG2, just that we know those code names, they have legs, right? The press talk about them. We talk about them with customers. They get out there in the market. And to have our first Arc product be based on DG2 just didn't feel right to us. I mean, DG1 was a significant product for us. It was a big milestone, but really that was taking our Tiger Lake integrated graphics, putting it into a discrete package. It wasn't the first high performance gaming product, which is what this represents. So that was some of the motivation behind coming up with new code names. And then obviously we wanted the code names to be cool, and we wanted some sort of a scheme that showed the generation to generation. So you know, we have some creative people on the team, and we came up with this scheme based on character classes, and we liked it, so we went with it. So that was that's the backstory there.
Very cool. So we, you know, Intel obviously has a plan to have, you know, GPUs coming out for many years. You don't launch a new generation of GPUs, overnight. So for anyone that had questions on, Intel's intentions entering this market and their long-term goals, that slide was interesting when Arc Day hit, because it basically said, hey, we're in this for the long haul. We already have a roadmap of 4 GPUs coming. So, that was good stuff right there. Dave, do you want to roll to the next one, or you want me just to toss it out there?
Yeah, we should roll to the next one. I think it's great, by the way, Martyn. Kudos for coming up with a architecture naming convention that is extremely relatable to gamers. I think it's great stuff. Marco and I, when we first heard this, from Alchemist to Battlemage Celestial Druid, really thought that that was some pretty sharp marketing. Good stuff there. Anyways, yeah, let's move on to what? Want to hit XeSS now?
Yeah, so we've already had a couple of XeSS questions sort of roll in the chat, and this, if you guys answer this one, you're probably going to cover a few of them. So, based on the disclosures you guys have made, it sort of seems like XeSS or Xe super sampling is somewhat of a hybrid solution. It's somewhat similar to DLSS, somewhat similar to FSR, in that, yes, you have dedicated hardware to accelerate it, but you don't necessarily need it if your GPU can run a certain instruction. Can you guys provide some color on how XeSS is different, than those other solutions?
Yeah, and and I think we should probably take a quick step back and say, for folks that aren't familiar with some of the other solutions like FSR, DLSS, XeSS is Intel's alternative solution for improving image quality at a lower input resolution and upscaling to bring, as you can see here, 4K level quality off of a 1080p input. But I'm sorry, why don't we dive in there, and Scott or Martyn, however you guys want to answer that one would be great.
I can grab this one. So
I can start, and then
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think, all of these technologies are amazing. I think they all deliver a lot of value to gamers. So I think if you look at what NVIDIA's done with DLSS, it's an amazing technology. We've been working on our version XeSS for a number of years now. If you look at what AMD's just released, FSR, I think the way they've done it and making it open, that's great. It's great for gamers. It's great for the industry. And I think what we're doing here is offering, I think, like you said, Marco, it's a little bit of a hybrid. Our aim is to have the quality of the DLSS solution, and we also want to make it open and available for everybody. So I think that's the high level. But yeah, I think Scott can give you a little bit of a double click on it.
Yeah, so there are lots of ways to do this type of thing, to upscale to higher quality from lower quality, with the goal ultimately being that you have hopefully perceptually similar quality at a higher level of performance, because you've been able to render fewer pixels and do some upscaling. And there are different solutions in the market now that do that. I think that you would say, that AMD's FSR, which is a super resolution tech that does some spatial upscaling with no sort of temporal component, that is, it doesn't borrow samples from past frames, is a sort of a different class of solution than an XeSS. XeSS very much does borrow samples from past frames and use machine learning in order to understand sample selection and integrate the right samples to give you a beautiful output at higher resolution. And a super resolution approach like FSR can be good. There are limits in terms of the amount of upscaling that you can do before it starts to look a little bit stretched. And being able to take the sort of next step with the machine learning and borrowing temporally from past frames will allow you sometimes to scale more, get maybe more of a performance benefit, and still have that beautiful image quality that you want to have. And then obviously, one of the things that we're looking at with XeSS, which we've already announced, is the ability to run on multiple different types of hardware, multiple different brands of hardware. And so we want to take that more open approach so that the whole industry can benefit from the technology that we're bringing.
Gotcha. Good stuff.
Very cool. So I know you guys can't go, disclose anything that's not already out there, but you mentioned, there's machine learning involved in a temporal element. Apologies, I have something that flew in my throat while we're talking here. Are there any, I'm not sure you can answer this, but I'm going to ask. If you can't answer, it's totally fine. Do game companies have to, provide assets like NVIDIA's tech, or is it, your AI just performing some machine learning on game frames as they happen in real time? Is there any detail you can provide there?
So if you're asking the question about training, does XeSS have to be trained on individual games in order to be integrated into them and then provide good results? The answer is it does not. It's generalizable. So it's been trained on a lot of frames from a lot of graphics sources, but it does not require specific per game training in order to work.
Got it. Very cool.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
I think that's cool. If you look at the demo that we did at Architecture Day that Lisa showed, that XeSS had not seen that Rens content before, so it was not trained on this content.
And this content stunning. Was Unreal Engine 5, correct?
It may not have been 5.
So we had a question earlier about running Unreal Engine 5, and
this is UE4.
UE4. Okay, forget it. Okay,
sorry. UE4. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
Looks great. And yeah, one of the things that Lisa said in the demo, I believe, was that in the highest setting, XeSS actually you can't perceive the difference between the 4K, resolution rendered output, I should say, from XeSS versus native. Is that real, or is that I don't know, because it seems like a pretty lofty goal.
I mean, I think you can.
Go ahead.
I think if you freeze one of these frames, you can actually see there's places where it actually looks better with XeSS than native. I think that's the amazing thing about this technology. I don't know if you can make it full screen, Marco. I don't know if it will come through the webcast, but
Chris, can you
go and look for
themselves? I think if I send it full screen, it's going to mess up the cast. So
okay, all right.
If
you can sort of
drop a link in the chat.
Okay.
I mean, I can already see right in just this example on the screen, the XeSS example in the middle. There's obviously more data in the text. If you look at the 1080p and the native 4K, the text isn't perfectly clear there, and in the middle there is definitely more that's readable, at least in my view right here.
Yeah, and if you look, if the ventilation's a weird one because it kind of looks bold, the text on XeSS, but if you look above that to the right at the caution, and if you look just underneath the pipe on the left at the caution, you'll see a lot more clarity with XeSS.
Oh yeah, Chris, I don't know if you can move your your cursor on the screen, like go up right underneath. See the caution in the background. It's lower. Oh, well, that too up there even looks good too. Yeah, yeah, down there. Yep, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, it's trained on it's 16K, right, Scott? It's being trained on, so it's.
I believe it's 64x super sampled, so you can scale that up depending on the starting res, right? But it's trained on very high resolution, oversampled, multi-super sampled source frames that's trying to integrate, similarly the samples from past frames to get good results. But I mean, the key to something like this is it's a perceptual technology, right? The whole idea is that hopefully we can give you an experience, a view of the game that looks just as good as, or in some cases better than, native resolution rendering. And there's also an edge anti-aliasing component to this tech, so it does do some nice smoothing of edges as well. So that is the sort of goal, is the perceptual end result will be very good. And that's a tough one, right? You're going to have to evaluate it yourself in games and have a look at it and play around and look at it in motion as well as in static scenes and see what you think. But I think that you'll find that there are good results.
Very cool. Very cool. How has the reception been so far in the developer community for XeSS? Have you guys been making some inroads? Obviously, that's going to be key is adoption in game titles and support for it. Even and certainly the fact that it's supported on competitive hardware and sort of an open fashion. DP4A I think is the fallback versus your internal XMX engines. Any comments there on the developer community and the adoption? I know it's early.
Yeah, I think
it is early.
There's a lot of excitement.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of excitement. We're talking over each other. I was just going to say there's a lot of excitement, obviously, with this tech, with the ISV partners that we're talking to. I think we're shipping out the SDKs, I think this week maybe, but I think there's a lot of excitement. I think we'll talk more about that in the near term future about how that's going, and maybe have some updates for you, but not a lot to disclose today on that front.
Gotcha. Well, there was a bunch of game titles that were sort of announced in one of your posts. I have to pull it up and reference it myself, but we can move on from that. But you guys actually have already shown in your demos, a bunch of different game titles that are, we're running with it. So, anyways, interesting stuff. All right, Michael, you want to move on to the next one? Oh, you muted, buddy.
That's what happens when you're coughing your brains out. You mute for a second. Okay, so you guys had shown a slide during your launch day announcements that showed XeSS and versus native 4K with performance using your XMX accelerators and using the DP4A instructions, and they were pretty close. You guys dedicated some hardware, but DP4A was still some really strong performance. Can you guys provide any clarity on that, sort of what that comparison was? Does that delta change depending on the type of cards being used? Just any additional color. I guess you guys showed about a 2x performance increase, but with DP4A it was maybe 1.9 or something along those lines. Can someone just provide some more detail about that information?
So I think the first thing to say is that we said these slides are basically to illustrate, and so this is not super exact performance numbers that you'll see later as we go toward launch, and okay. So just understand that's the point, right? But then if you're asking the question about what this is a Intel on Intel hardware versus on Intel hardware type of comparison, showing DP4A versus XMX.
Gotcha. So that wasn't any sort of here's how it performs on our XMX engines, and here how it performs on a similarly spec'd competitive card that doesn't have XMX. That was all internal Intel data right there.
Right. And we'll get there eventually, but we're not there yet. Yeah.
And I think Lisa may have said something. I could be wrong, but I think she said something about how the quality settings may not have been the same across those two tests. So don't quote me on it, but maybe go back and listen to what Lisa says.
Okay.
We do have the option, to tune when we're trying to, use. There's two ways that you run this, right? You run it, and the ML inference is done on XMX array and the Alchemist architecture, which is, very high performance machine learning inference. Or on hardware that doesn't have that, you can do it accelerated through the DP4A instructions. And in that case, we have the option to tune the knobs for quality and performance in order to make sure that you still have a good experience. But that may mean that the image quality that you see from the XMX example and what you see from the DP4A example may not be exactly apples to apples as well. And you do have to sort of innovate that way in order to make sure that you can provide good experiences on a vast range of hardware.
Got it. Makes sense.
Very
so
cool.
the DP4A essentially is the instruction that's used for GPUs that don't have XMX engines to run XeSS, just to put it simply, correct? Right.
That's basically what we're talking about. And, that's accessible through DirectX shader model 6. I believe it's 6.4 for basic exposure and 6.6 for best practices that we'd recommend.
Gotcha. I'm going to pop a question on the screen because I know that there's no way either you're going to answer it. So I'm just going to let Crispy Silicon here know there's no way they're going to answer this question, but we see it. I just want to let you know that you're not going to get an answer today. Thanks.
Hey, I want to step back real quickly on a point I had made. This is what I was thinking of dropping a link in the chat. This is actually the Intel Arc Day gameplay sizzle reel. Reveals compelling features on big name game titles. It wasn't XeSS focused, but in this sizzle reel that I just linked in the chat, they showed Forza Horizon 4, PUBG, Mountain Blade Bannerlord, Riftbreaker, Crisis Remastered, Metro Exodus, a ton of games, which actually and that's just a general demo, not XeSS. But it leads into an interesting question that we did have queued up for these guys, and that was, how is Intel doing with respect to ensuring solid day zero support for popular game titles? More of a software driver question. I don't know if you guys can field that, and whoever wants to take that one on.
Martyn, you want to take that?
I can start if you want. Yeah, I think, this is something we've been working on. I think we've made a lot of improvements. I think we've been hiring like crazy, building out that team. I think the bar's definitely been raised. Is it going to be perfect in day one? I don't think it is for anybody. So I think we're sort of open to that, and we're definitely trying hard. And I think that's really what we're working on now. Right? I think the battle now between now and launching the products is making sure we get all of that right. So I think there's a big effort in the company right now to do that.
Yeah, it takes a lot of resources.
If you saw Lisa Pierce at Architecture Day, who runs our software group, was talking about some of the things that they have done, like re-architecting that unified driver that will run on our integrated and discrete graphics, and making some targeted improvements also around things like CPU bound scenarios in games, where there was some major improvements in performance, from driver to driver, because the optimization that's going on. Like there are fundamentally, fundamental technologies that are being built into the software in order to position us for the move into the discrete graphics market.
Gotcha. Yeah. A significant effort. Marco, what else we got lining up here? Mute again, buddy.
I am so sorry. So I'm going to throw something in from the chat. I'm not sure if you guys can answer this. Of course, obviously, you're not going to be able to give any detailed performance data if you have. But we have Navjack asking, is Intel Arc able to run the latest UE5? Have you done it yet? And have you tested with hardware Lumen enabled? Is that something that you guys can comment on?
So we have demonstrated.
I don't think we're going to comment on.
Yeah, we have demonstrated UE5 running on Alchemist, so I think we could say that, right?
Okay.
In terms of the Lumen question, I don't think we can say that, but Epic's a key partner.
We did,
right?
We did at Architecture Day, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, no, I knew that one was kind of on the edge, but I thought I saw
the question was one click down.
What's that, Martyn?
We showed it very briefly. I thought you were going one click down with the question. We showed it briefly at Architecture Day with the Valley of the Ashes, right? We showed that real quick, but there'll be more to see. There'll be more to see.
And this one's probably going to go to Martyn. It's a bit of a curveball, but maybe this is one he's probably practiced a few times. If I was a betting man,
yeah.
We have John tweeting asking, what will XE bring to market for an end user that I can't get with NVIDIA or AMD?
Yeah, that's a bit of a curve. Let's get some heat on it.
So I'm not going to answer that question today. I think
the
what we're going to do from today or 3 weeks ago all the way through to launch is build that story. So I think that's the work ahead for my team. But we're not going to disclose more today on that.
Okay. Understood. Let me see what else.
I mean, we've already just talked about one technology. Right? I mean, we've showed one technology already that we're talking about today, which I feel like it's a differentiator. But we'll unpack it more.
Gotcha. So there might be more tricks coming, is what he's saying, but he can't say what. Okay.
You never know.
You never know.
I'm going to pop another one on the screen. I know that. Okay, I'm going to KW. There's no way they can comment on a future product. We have a KW asking, will Intel integrated GPUs gain XMX hardware support in the future? There's no way Martyn or Scott will answer this, but that's kind of how technology marches. The big discrete GPUs come, and over time they shrink down and get integrated elsewhere. So assuming that Intel is successful, that will probably happen at some point in the future, but we're not going to get confirmation from Ben or Scott, unless one of you guys wants to get in trouble. Anyone want to get in trouble today? No? Okay.
Never say never.
There you go. Perfect.
That's it. Cool. What else we got here? I'm taking a look myself. We had a question on drivers a little bit. Will Intel's GPU drivers be unified across all Xe-based products? So is the goal single unified driver across desktop and mobile, regardless of GPU architecture and technology capabilities? Fairly straightforward.
So, yeah, we talked about how we just re-architect architect our unified driver, right? So
yeah,
you're right, for integrated and discrete, unified driver.
Okay. Martyn, I'm sorry, did you have something there?
Yeah. And I think that's by the way, that's a big benefit for our OEM customers, right? Is there's just one driver they have to manage on, different configurations versus two. So that's a big win for them, as well as obviously everybody else.
Yeah, makes sense. All right. What else? Go for it, Margo.
So I'm going to throw another softball in. This one, I just because, when I was writing up a quick piece on Arc, at first when I heard the brand, I was like, okay, I get it. And then there were so many different angles where you can use that word arc, whether it's in terms of, a spark, a story arc. There was lots of different angles you could take with that. Any interesting stories or anecdotes you guys can share on how you came up with Arc and, what the branding means internally?
I can share. I'll share a couple of things. I think what you said was interesting. I think we had a ton of names to pick from. Our brand team did a great job with lots of options. Everybody liked Arc, but Arc didn't have one clear meaning. I think there was a lot of meanings that we looked at that we liked. Obviously, we picked the story arc as the main story, but there's obviously a arc is an energy connection between 2 points. So it could be like a welding arc, could be an electric arc, and that could also relate to gamers that are communicating and connecting. What we're doing now, is a connection between 2 points. There's an arc is a vessel, right, that gets you places. So there's lots of different meanings you could use for arc, but obviously the story arc is an important one for us. I think you've got the Odyssey shirt on, Dave, and I think that this has been a journey. This is a story, and every time you play a game, as we said in the video, right, you're creating your own stories. So I think that's an important part of the name for us. I've got a funny story for you guys if you want it. I think you probably do.
Sure.
We all like funny.
So we're trying to protect this name, Arc, right? We don't want to have this name leak before we announce it. And so at Intel, we give things, we give names a code name, kind of like, the Alchemist is a code name for the product. So the brand name Arc was always referred to within Intel as Fred. And, you don't get to choose, you just tell you, okay, we're going to use Fred. So we have been talking about Fred for months inside the company, and people have joined from other companies. People have joined my team. I've been in meetings where people have said, I don't really think Fred's a very good name for a high performance discrete GPU. And so we were just super relieved to get the name out there, and then we can stop saying Fred inside Intel.
Fred. Any story behind Fred, or was it just somebody random? We're just going to call it Fred.
That's just a name.
Just a name. What's in a name, right?
So you guys had, I'm sure
maybe there's a story we'll tell you later about that one, but right now it's just a name.
Got it.
So you guys had internal people that weren't privy to the Arc branding, and they were just told Fred. That's it. You guys were talking about Fred for months.
We tried to do something a little different here because we've had a lot of leaks, as you guys obviously know. So we tried to be a lot more disciplined about, we weren't allowed to even say the name Arc in meetings. Even within my team, we were just trained. You're just Fred. Everything's Fred. The name of everything was Fred. And then, even on some things where we had design with agencies, we had it was Fred to start with. And then when we're getting closer, we use ABC. And then it was ABC. Okay, it's just 3 letters. And it was in the right font and size and shape and everything. And then at the end, we're like, okay, just change the B. Like that. So that was another thing we did. But yeah, it wasn't fun saying Fred for months. I can tell you that.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Funny.
you know, it's funny. I didn't pick up on it until our conversation just now that it's ABCD, Alchemist, Battlemage, Celestial Juice.
You didn't?
I didn't pick up on that. That's silly. All right, no,
It makes sense.
stuff.
Where have you been, Marco?
Yeah, subs. You know, I got my brain is scrambled. So I'm pretty sure this is a Dave. You're gonna toss that one over.
Yeah, I figured I'd just toss this in. It's an easy one. I don't know who wants to answer it, but how far back are you going with DirectX? All the DirectXs, perhaps?
I don't know the limits. I mean, 9 is going to happen, right? But I don't know the limits, like going back. That's an interesting question. We'd have to get back to you on that. Yeah.
Scott, any chance for glide support?
No comment.
Quack.
No chance.
I've been playing
Beautiful.
Quick Remastered though. That's a lot of fun. So,
Oh yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
absolutely.
Cool.
I did have a question we can maybe field from Twitter, perhaps. I think I may know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it anyways. If you guys have some extra time in your interview schedule, this is from the Twitter sphere. Can you ask if Intel plans to roll out a computational language API for hardware acceleration on Arc, or will it focus on OpenCL compliance, compatibility, etc.? Thank you in advance. One API, and then certainly you support OpenCL currently. Any comment there that you can offer without spilling too many beans?
Probably not.
I don't know, Scott, if you want to.
I mean, one API is already a well-known set of plans, right? And so I don't think we have anything more to divulge today. But I'd say look that up, right?
Got it. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, Marco. I asked the tough one. Sorry about that. Go for it. Next.
It was all good. That's good stuff. It was. I thought to date, most of the talk regarding Arc is around PC desktops and gaming. So for you to kind of to go in that direction, I was like, whoa, there's no way we're going to get an answer, but we got somewhat of an answer. So that's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm looking through the chat. There's not much else that I think there's any possibility of getting answered. Let me just check this one out here. So you know what? I don't think you guys can answer, but I'm going to ask. We have someone asking about, if this is relevant, but with the current GPU shortages going on, is there anything, because you're Intel, is there anything you guys can do to sort of, I'm not going to say guarantee that gamers can get Arc cards when they ship, but is there anything you guys are doing to ensure that gamers can buy your products when they hit?
Nothing we can announce today, but we're definitely looking at things we can do to reduce or prevent scalping and to make sure that the gamers can get the products. But it's tough. I mean, I think so. There's two parts to it, right? There's the supply, and then there's the scalpers and purchasing.
Logistics.
So we're looking at that. Obviously, supply. Yeah, we want to obviously get as many GPUs out there as possible. Obviously, that's good business. But I don't think we're going to be able to have everything that everybody wants, because just like everybody else, right, this is a pretty constrained environment for semiconductors. So yeah, we're working our hardest to supply the needs of the market, and we definitely want to make sure that gamers can get their hands on them and not have to pay scalper prices.
There you go.
Understood. I know it's tough. That's a real tough question to answer, but with Intel's scale and influence, I thought if there was any insight you can give. No, I hear you there. There's nothing really else in the chat that I think there's any possibility. Oh wait, we got one. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't. It's a comment, and I thought it was funny. Scott sort of pioneered looking between the frames back in his tech report days, and if you've got anything to do with Arc, you're not going to have any frame pacing issues, right? Frame time issues.
Hey, I mean, it's an important way to look at things, important way to test, and so we're definitely thinking about it. Believe me.
Yeah. And actually, I have a question for Scott.
I've already seen one of Scott's frame time analysis on Arc.
Nice.
Question for Scott, actually, since we tapped on him. And this is more of a sort of I don't want to say lifestyle, but corporate lifestyle sort of thing. You recently made the portal jump from AMD to Intel Arc graphics, from AMD Radeon to Arc. What's different about the environment at Intel versus AMD? They're probably fairly different in terms of corporate environment and just the feel amongst in the team and all that good stuff. Maybe share a little bit of insight there if you could.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, I've got a lot of good friends at AMD. It's a good company. I don't have anything bad to say there.
Yeah, of course.
You know, there are familiar faces that have moved, you know, back and forth. One of the things that I have really appreciated about Intel having made the move is one of the things that we're sort of talking about today, which is the research that we have, the capability that we have, the team that's been working for years on the machine learning problem to develop a technology like XeSS, being able to talk to people like Kartik and those engineers who help build that type of thing and who are thinking about the next thing and the thing after that. That is an amazing capability that Intel has, and I'm really excited to be working, you know, as part of that.
Very cool. Lots of resources, big company.
I think that's one of the things, guys. I think that's one of the things where Scott and I are good partners, because I've been around for so long. I know who's who in the zoo and what number to call, and you know, I'm still making connections for Scott now. Like, hey, have you talked to these guys over here down the hallway 3 blocks that way? So I think it's a huge company. It's a really big company, and I think that's what I found with a lot of people that come in from other companies. That's the first thing that hits them, is like how big it is and how many people we have. And sometimes, you know, things that are all done by one person at other companies, we have several people that do those different functions. So it's just finding out who's doing what and making these connections has been something I've been working on for Scott and others that have come in.
Yeah, good stuff. Lots of resources, that's for sure. Marco, what else we got?
I think you guys have disclosed this, so I'm going to pop it up on the screen. I think I know the answer, but I just want to see if someone can comment. We have reps up asking, you know, how will Arc GPUs work with the adaptive sync monitors? Have you guys announced any support for adaptive sync? I think you did.
Integrated Graphics have supported it since Ice Lake.
Right.
And so, you know, this is a really good technology for gaming, and we'll have more to say about how it works with the Arc in the future.
Fair enough. That's as good as a yes you're going to get, reps.
I've got one, and I don't know if you can provide a little bit of color on it. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to one of our articles. Chris, I don't know if you can pull it up, but Intel Alchemist will support overclocking, you know, baked in support for overclocking. And that was a comment made by one of your senior execs, and I'm not sure who. I need to find it in the article, but Intel VP and GM Client Graphics Products, Roger Chandler, mentioned this. I don't know, since it's on record, can you help us understand, you know, what you're doing with that? That's an interesting, overclocking is always an interesting technology for folks.
If Roger said it, it must be true. I don't think we're getting into any details on that.
Okay.
We'll come back to you on that in the future.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I guess he penned a little bit of information on Medium, on his Medium. So yeah, interesting. Push the hardware to the limits is what he said. But anyways, okay.
I know I've seen how you guys play this. I've seen how you guys play this, where you're like, hey, you know, someone said this, and then it's sort of like a trap, right? It's like, oh yeah, we are. And then we just disclose something, right?
No, we're not trying to trap anybody. No, we figured that since that was out there, it might be there might be a tidbit more we could get. But there's the article right there.
It's so funny that Martyn says that, though, because there are times where we take crap from the audience for the way we're phrasing a question,
right?
And we're totally phrasing it a certain way, trying to pull something out. And, you know, so yeah, you know, you guys have to worry. We have to worry how the audience thinks we're talking. But it's that was funny. That I'm going to talk about that later.
It is funny though, because like even Scott and I, right? We're, like we just said, we're a big company. We've got a lot of people talking to the press, and so sometimes we didn't even know what someone else has said, right? We're like, well, did they? Oh yeah, you know, Lisa. Oh, Roger said that. Lisa said that. Or someone else said that. So sometimes it's hard for us to keep track of what's been said and what's not been said. But That's funny.
Yeah. So Tuan knows how it works. It's a trap.
Yeah. Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the questions in the chat. There's not stuff that's going to get answered, and some comments on competing stuff. While we still have you, because I know we're coming up on the hour here. What is it about ARC or XeSS or any of the tech that you guys are working on? What part of the story hasn't the tech press covered? What message do you guys want to get across directly to the audience now that you have everybody captive here?
Good question.
Sorry, I found the line. It's in there.
What hasn't been covered? I mean, we haven't said too much, to be honest. So when you say what hasn't been covered, I think a lot hasn't been covered, but we haven't said much, right? We did effectively a brand reveal. We teased a few technologies, including XeSS and ray tracing. We unpacked XeSS a little bit. We unpacked XeHPG a little bit, but we haven't said a whole lot more yet. And I think, we want to unpack it. We've got several milestones of where we'll unpack in bigger chunks, and then I think we'll unpack in small chunks as well. So I think we've got a lot to say. Obviously not a lot new today, but it's the most exciting thing I've been involved in 16 years at Intel. I think, as we've talked about, we're super serious about this market. We're super committed. We're definitely gamer first mentality. So I think, without really answering your question, I'd just say we've got a ton to say, and we'll be talking a ton. It's no point saying a ton and then we haven't got the products, right? And then there's just frustration from everybody because they can't get them. We've drawn a line in the sand, Q1 2022. So it's a short runway from now till then, and we'll unpack it and we'll tell the full story.
Nice. Always good to over deliver, right? Good stuff. This is something that wasn't actually.
That's our goal.
That's the goal. This is something that wasn't covered too much in the press. And Chris, I don't know if you can put it up on screen, but these are the characters, and we found them interesting. We actually did a little digging on your slideware because you put it out there. We didn't do anything wrong here. But there you go. There's Alchemist on the left, Celestial, Battlemage, and Druid, and really interesting game characters. Some of them look decidedly male, and then there's some female wizardry there, the Celestial, and pretty cool stuff. There's Druid. Any background story you can give us on that? Was there a particular artist you found? Are you talking about that at all? Because these are really well thought out, cool looking characters for your GPU arcs, and we were pretty impressed. Didn't get a lot of attention from the press, but we felt like, hey man, this is kind of cool. This should get some attention. So figured I'd give you guys an opportunity to talk to those characters a little bit if you wanted to.
Yeah, I did think there's a lot to say. I mean, we got Alchemist right here, right? There she is. We came up with those names. Like I said, we got a creative team. I won't take any credit for the names. We found an artist to come up with some cool imagery. We didn't want to make a big deal about the characters because it's not about the characters. It's not about building these personas for who these characters are. It's really about, the products and the technology. But we hid them, right? They weren't like bold and plain sight for everybody. That's why they didn't get a lot of pickup. So I think when you showed earlier on the roadmap at Architecture Day, we basically hid the characters over the chips. So yeah, I mean, it's fun, right? I think that if the community wants to do something with the characters, that would be fun. We'd love to see that. If folks want to make up new versions of the characters, maybe we'll use them in the future. I think we just had a bit of fun with it more than taking ourselves too seriously. But yeah, I think they look cool. So, I mean, if folks want to see more of them, maybe we'll make some T-shirts or something. I don't know.
Yeah. That was my thought, was that the community could get behind it. They're relatable. They're sort of hero type images, and you could get some good community engagement with that move. So I thought it was well done. But all right, Marco.
So not a question that you can answer, but some feedback from multiple people. We have where was the first one here? So the first person asking for is Intel bringing back graphics art on GPU packaging, and someone else saying those are cool art. That's cool art. Hope to see them on a 3DFX style box. So it looks like the community wants some cool packaging when the cards hit. Something to keep in mind when the time comes.
Yeah, maybe we will.
Good stuff. All right.
I like them. I think they're cool, right? We'll figure out some places to use them.
Yeah, I ran those slides through an AI upscaler trying to get the best quality possible for that post for Brandon. And if you see high-res images of those elsewhere, they stole them from us because we didn't get high-res imagery from Intel.
It looks like you used XeSS, Marco.
I used Topaz Gigapixel AI, baby.
Yeah.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
That stuff, it's good stuff. Yeah, no, it was good. It was fun to pull those out of the chips. We saw them, sort of shadowed over the GPU slices, and it was good to kind of play a little sleuth on that, pull them out. All right. Anything else before we? What's that, Martyn?
More Easter eggs in store. Yeah, more Easter eggs in store.
Yeah,
maybe there's one here. I don't know.
You don't know. Oh, it's all right. Somebody magnify Martyn's screen right now.
Full screen cap.
You guys have been on an Easter egg sort of motif, though. You have actually been, you sent out Christmas cards with little Easter eggs. You sent out. There were a couple of different things that you had been tipping your hand on the product a little bit. Strategy behind that, more to come. Just curious.
I think it's just fun. I think it's just fun, right? I think, we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously. We should have fun. I think the community is enjoying that stuff. We did the scavenger hunt, XeHPG scavenger hunt. I think we've got more coming, more scavenger hunt stuff coming. So yeah, it's just trying to have fun, trying to make it fun for the community. Obviously, there's some waiting before the product, so let's have some fun while we're doing it.
Yeah. Why not? There you go. They want a bigger image of Alchemist. They want the full rendering.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to give it to you guys as an exclusive, and then you guys can do what you want with it.
Awesome. There you go. All right. Deal. We'll run it up the flagpole.
We got people asking for 4K wallpapers already. So.
Hey, James.
James,
why stop at 4K?
Well, and then Ian's here, TechTechPotato. Good to see you. He's a friend. Ian, did he ask his question yet? You're gonna have to type it in the chat, Ian. And
no. I have it on my Facebook page.
You do?
All right. I totally spaced.
Ian can call me with this question.
Actually, it was a marketing related question, and I'm not sure if you'll be comfortable answering, Martyn, but I'm going to ask because it might be fun. Let me just find my post. Give me 1 second. So Ian asked, he said, considering the weeks of work that go into a few slides for launch, let me read this properly. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to skip that one. Can you describe what goes into making the decision to market a feature one way or another? Does the person making the final decision actually know about the feature, or is it more of groupthink? How does the process work when you're deciding to market a specific feature?
So I don't think Ian's ever worked with Raja before that closely. I think, we don't necessarily make all our decisions months in advance. I think some of the stuff we do is days in advance. So yeah, I'll just say that. I think the folks that are involved in decisions, if that's the question, Ian, we've got some very technical folks, including Scott on this call, involved in most of our major decisions. So, I think we understand the tech before we make the decisions. But if you have feedback, Ian, I'd love to hear it.
So he's got a follow up that's more fun. It's how often do they drop something at the last minute that makes you want to pull your hair out, or maybe rephrase it in a way that makes you realize there's a better way to explain a feature? Did the powers that be ever make you want to pull your hair out?
He's got a lot of hair too.
What does he mean? How often did he drop something?
I think he's just asking, how often are you excited about a feature and then you pitch it and they make you drop it. You just can't talk about it.
Oh.
It's probably going to get in trouble. So yeah.
I don't think I pitch a feature. I think we've got tons of technical features. We've got a laundry list for this product family. And I think, when it comes to pitching them, I think first part of that is like understanding the technical truth or the product truth. And I think that's why we've got folks like Scott on the team, because we need to understand, right? I think, we've been caught down that trap before of not fully understanding and making something accessible and explaining a technology accurately and correctly. And I think first thing is always to understand what it does, how it works, and what's good about it. And then we figure out a plan on how do we explain that. I'm not sure if that's the question. I think that last minute changes come regularly, right? I think that's part of the parcel, and I think that's what makes it fun and exciting. Is that we're dealing with that. I mean, it's not just executive decisions at Intel that can change things last minute. There's market dynamics, right? It's a fast-paced market. We've got lots of competition. Software is changing rapidly, so I think we're always reacting and trying to be dynamic.
Yep. Yeah. The relentless pace of innovation, it makes you light in your feet. You have to be anyways. That's for sure. Good stuff.
I think you say marketing angle on a particular feature. I think, again, that's like looking at what do users want? What's the research say? What are people asking for? What can they do with something? I mean, a lot of features could have multiple use cases. And a lot of the hardware features could have multiple use cases depending on what you do with software. So I think we've got a lot of researchers in the company that are looking at current trends or future use cases. And so I think we base a lot of decisions around that stuff as well. Not just like, oh, it's good for this, let's go and market it for this.
Gotcha.
Look at Ian's got the questions now. It's become question time with Ian. How much did he pay you guys per question? I'm going to start charging him.
Yeah, exactly. He tends to, you could throw something in the super chat there, Ian. Just kidding. No, he tends to. He's a pretty inquisitive guy, Ian.
Yeah. Well, I should say I think there's a lot more teamwork and consensus maybe than you're thinking about this type of thing, right? We're trying to figure out what the community wants and how to explain it so people understand it. And sometimes, guys like you want like the nerdy thing, but then how do we explain it to the larger world? Sometimes, guys, I'll be saying to the team, hey, there's this thing, it does this, or I think I've done it great. And then there'll be people who aren't as familiar who say, I don't get it. And then you have more work to do, right? Because you want people to get it. And that's a challenge, right? With these really technical products, you want to get it right. You want people to understand the benefits. And it's good to have that challenge, honestly.
That's my job. My job is to be the dumb manager and not get it, and then have someone explain it multiple times till I get it.
There you go. And yeah, sort of parlay in there. NavJack says, like, you want to explain it in a technical way, but higher ups want you to dumb it down. It needs to be digestible for the masses. You can't have the propeller geek out on all the time, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, all right. What else? Are we pretty much wrapped up there, Marco? I think we are. We're at the top of the hour, bottom of the hour, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we're past the hour. We've made it through all the questions in the chat. I think unless the guys have anything they want to, reach out to the audience for, I think we're all good.
Yeah. Maybe guys, any parting comments? Thanks so much for joining us today. This was interesting stuff. Appreciate your time. Anything you'd like to offer to the audience before we say goodbye?
I just say thanks. Thanks to you guys for having us. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the interest. We're excited. I hope you're all excited too. And we look forward to engaging with you and getting feedback from you all and bringing these products to market. I think it's an exciting time.
Good stuff. Martyn Stroeve and Scott Wasson from Intel's Arc graphics team. Intel Graphics, great to have you with us. Thanks so much for your time. We are also eagerly awaiting the launch of your products come Q1 2022. It will be good to have another choice in high-end discrete graphics and one that's powered with Intel technology on board. Good stuff for sure. Looking forward to XeSS. That looks like great stuff too. Marco, anything to add before we sign off here?
No, I fully agree. Just I'm psyched that there's another another combatant entering this market. It's the GPUs are always so hot with our audience. I'm sure Scott can attest to when there's a new GPU launch, that's when the audience gets worked up into a frenzy. And I think most people are excited that Intel is doing this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing to work next year. So good stuff.
Yeah, keep us up late night. That's all. It's all good. So
Thanks,
good
guys.
stuff. Yeah. Martyn, Scott, thanks so much for joining us. Folks, you can find us on the web at hothardware.com, where we will be tracking Intel Arc and the launch of the products forthcoming from Intel's graphics team in the weeks and months ahead. Find us at hothardware.com, twitter.com/hothardware, youtube.com/hothardwarevids. Thumb up, subscribe, please, so you can get notified when we have more information on this kind of stuff. Hopefully we can have Scott and Martyn back and harass them some more in the future. Hopefully we didn't freak you guys too much today.
But good to come back.
We'd love to come back.
Excellent. Well, and with that, folks, we'll bid you adieu, and thank you so much for stopping by.